Well, good morning, everybody. How are we doing today? It is Monday. It's a tidbit chilly out there. And I was out running this weekend. And I run just about every weekend. I try to run a lot of weekdays, in fact, as well. So as many of you may know, I am a runner. Done a half marathon. Would like to do a marathon. Not really currently training for it. Just got too much other things going on. Too much other things. Boy, that's a bad way to say it, isn't it? Anyway, too many other things going on. And that's cool because I'm maintaining and I'm keeping the running going. But there's a few tips and tricks that I'd like to share with you, as well as a few other things that I'd like to bring up. And I want to hear about you. If you are a runner, if you're an athlete of any kind, what do you do to stay in shape? You know, you just go into the gym. I'm not much of a gym guy. I don't really like just going to the gym. But I do like treadmills. Running, I like getting outside too. I like getting out and moving. I feel like I get a better workout on a treadmill though, because there's more demand for me to hurry up and get it done. Whereas when I go out through the woods, it's kind of if I have to slow down and walk, it's no big deal because I'm out in the woods. It is pretty. So cold days, I have good days when I'm running and it's freezing. But then it comes back to, again, where do I get the better workout? I mean, I get the heart pumping much more when I'm on the treadmill and I'm looking at the numbers right in front of me and they're not lying. I know when I'm done with my run, no matter how slow I go, that I'm going to have those 3 miles done because I'm doing a 1.5 mile loop. I do a 1.5 mile out. I got to do a 1.5 mile back. On a treadmill, I get the 1.5 mile. If I just want to get off and say, okay, I'm done, I can. But I don't want to do that. I want to get that number up there. So I'm really, really pushing. But a lot of people really just don't like treadmills. Another thing I really like about treadmills, I like to do the entire race uphill. In which, downhill running is not as good for your knees. I can do this entire run going uphill the whole time. Just a subtle angle. But then, of course, there's no wind resistance when you're running on a treadmill either. But then, what else can you do while you run? Now, I have done some of my very best thinking while I run. If you just go out and run with nothing but you, get your brain moving and churning on ideas and circling around and around and around and around, you'll figure out what's important and you'll figure out what you need to do when you're not running. It could be trouble at home, trouble with the job, challenges you're not familiar or not sure about in any aspect of life. Get your brain really chugging on it, really processing, moving over those things. When your body is focused on the work, your brain will do background processes, background cycles on the problems at hand. And when you start running, your brain will start doing those foreground checks. They'll start actually actively going over, looking for solutions. And I mean, it could be anything. I was doing a creative writing project. This is when I discovered this. I was in college, I was doing a creative writing project, and I was coming up with ideas and fleshing them out while I would run. And then after I was done with my run, I'd get back and I'd actually do the script writing. And that creative writing project actually turned out really good. But regardless, a lot of people just can't just go out and run. They have to have something there with them. And I'm actually one of those people to a certain degree because I hardly ever do what I just told you to do. It is very rare that I am out running with nothing to listen to. Because listening to stuff is a big part of what I do outside of running. I really like to listen to audiobooks and podcasts. We do a podcast about books, so I listen to the books on audiobook. And I've been doing that for years, even before I was doing the podcast. So, yes, audiobooks are fantastic. Podcasts are great. Only real challenge with audiobooks is while you're running, you can at times get hypnotized and distracted. And you'll do the thing where, geez, I've been running for 5 minutes. I don't remember anything that this dude just said. But that's fine. You just rewind, you fill it back in, you pay attention. If you come to the point where you realize, I'm not paying attention anymore, it's also possible that while you're doing that, you're not really running very well anymore. You've reached that point of kind of saturation. At that point, switch to music. So you got whatever mobile audio listening device you have on you. Make sure you got access to music and audiobooks, and then hit that music and hit that shuffle button, and then you'll go through this song. I always do this thing where you'll go through a good song, and then it hits something you just don't want to listen to. All right, and then you start hitting the shuffle button. And whenever you can't just go to something else adequate, you have to keep hitting the shuffle button until you find something perfect. Yeah, but then I'll do that. A lot of times I'll say, okay, give me a really good pick-me-up song in the next 10 minutes, and I will keep running. I will go that extra quarter mile around the loop, or I'll turn left here, and that's going to make it an extra half mile, whatever it is. Just I got to get a good song in the next 10 songs, and I let that be my deciding factor. And then it's kind of a 50-50. Sometimes I get that song, and that gives me the pickup that I need to go the extra half mile. Other times I don't, and that tells me, well, I didn't decide. So that's a technique I use from time to time. But the biggest thing for me has been AR, augmented reality. I've been playing AR games while I run for 8-9 years now. First one I did was Spec Trek, and I've got a video on here about Niantic and Pokemon Go and Ingress, because that's where I got into next. But I mentioned Spec Trek in that video. Spec Trek was really cool. Give yourself a little area. It could be quarter mile up to something like 25 miles beyond, where it puts these little ghosts on your map, and you have to run to the location where those ghosts are. So it's a lot like, if you're familiar with Pokemon Go, it's very similar to that. You see where they are. You got to get to them. And then once you get to them, you got to hold up the phone. Pretty much you take a picture of them to capture them. And you go and you capture them all, and you get experience points. You level up. When you level up, your gear gets better, and you're able to go to bigger areas. So that one's a lot of fun. Then I started playing Ingress, which if you've never done that before, it's a lot like Pokemon Go. People will say, I got to go to that fountain. It's a Pokestop. That fountain is also a portal in Ingress. And the portals in Ingress are control points that you have to control for your team. So you go to that area. If it's an enemy portal, you can attack it. You can take it over. So that's cool, because there's an area actually right over here at King Farm where their portals are spread out pretty far. So if you get all these different control points, you can go running around between them. Go on like a 6-8 mile run and score a ton of points for your team by recapturing all these control points and gaining them for yourself. Pokemon Go, very similar in that regard. So I had a little camera malfunction there. Anyway, I was just finishing up by saying that using Pokemon Go to play, you run around, capture monsters, and get a lot of gear. There's actually a good loop near my house where you go on about a 3-4 mile run. You can get about 30-40 stops, capture a handful of monsters, and not anything spectacular, but some pretty decent stuff. And the problem is that as you're playing Pokemon Go, you really got to slow down. Ingress was the same thing, but with Ingress, I could go to a place where the portals were really far apart, and I'll go from one to the other. So I'll do a run, and then sit down and do a stretch. And while I'm doing a stretch, just do the stuff I got to do. So it was much more spaced out. Whereas Pokemon Go, you'll have to stop every less than a quarter mile. You have to stop for a brief period of time. I found myself running really, really slow doing that way. So I've taken to ignoring the monsters and only focusing on getting gear and really just getting the miles on. You get a bonus for as many miles as you put on for your phone to the monsters. So those are the things that I've noticed. I've taken, again, going much faster now that I'm not capturing monsters. Those are the things that I do for my running. There's so many other things. I mean, we could talk about Map My Run. The one other thing I wanted to mention, though, was runbuzz.com. As far as podcasts go, one of the best running podcasts I've listened to, and I've tried a bunch of them. RunBuzz is definitely my favorite. I think you'll get a kick out of that one. I recommend you checking that one out. But that's about it as far as I have. I want to hear about the tips and tricks that you use on your runs, if it's just the daily kind of thing or whatever. Stuff like, you ever hear this one? You get home and you want to dress down. When you dress down when you get home, put on gym clothes, and then all you got to do is throw your sneakers on and walk out the door. You're more motivated to get that workout in. Highly recommend that one. I use that one all the time. But other things like that, whatever you like, whatever you do, I want to hear about it. And as always, have a nice day.